Within your pack, folk, we have put in a document that we hope will be of use to you. It requires you to have a pen and to engage with the sessions that are being run at the conference by looking at the questions, a description first of what each of the sessions say, but then very short questions. And what we're thinking that there may well be some of you who would like to simply read the paragraph, listen to the presentation, such as those given by Keith and Crystal, and then attempt to answer the questions. And in that way, we hope that we would be able to reflect the fact that you have engaged with this material. In other words, you've done more than listened, you've done more than attended, you've engaged, you've processed it, you've answered the questions. They're not necessarily right or wrong. It's just questions that probe the content of the presentations. So why are we doing this? Well, folks, this is the thinking. And my colleagues from the US, Robert Vazzo particularly, who chairs the group in the alliance that is responsible for this, jointly with ourselves, I think this is the thinking. It's time for us to get serious about upskilling people who want to do this work. Have you noticed that every time there is criticism in the media, cases are cited that are often extreme? And because of that, we have no leg to stand on, because everybody's busy in their own way. The problem is many have been put out of the professional mental health bodies. This is a vicious cycle. So I think we are saying it's time that we stand up and build an alternative, and we make sure that the training that we put in place is good enough, professional enough. It involves collegiality, talking with one another. We have each other looking over our shoulders. There is interdisciplinary critique and engagement so that we check ourselves when we do the work of helping people with gender confusion or are wanting out of homosexuality. So the Preferred Provider Program, which is what we are calling it, is simply an opportunity for those who would like to upskill their understanding in the field to do it in a kind of continual professional development way. Now, who is it aimed at? Well, primarily it's aimed at the psychologists, the doctors, the medics, anybody with a professional training already in place. Anybody who is a professional pastoral carer, those who are concerned from also a spiritual point of view to look at this issue, we would want to engage with them. So firstly, we're not offering a qualification, we are just offering some upskilling and some content that would enhance the content that people already have. Having said that, if you are a person who is interested in this, there is nothing to stop you from filling in the document, handing it in at the end of the time, and we will record that you have done the work. And over time, you will see we will be able to build a good, reflective account of the work that you have been doing in this area. And that means when we are called and we need to refer people for help, we know who we are handing our people onto. Does that make sense? Is that something that we might want to consider? I'm hoping so, friends. It's time for us to make sure that we are self-regulating. We need to be able to look our colleagues and our professional those who criticize us and say, but we are self-regulating. We are paying attention to what our people are doing. So I've completely ignored my account here, but I'll just point out some things to you. Just to help you to remember, the IFTCC is a multidisciplinary organization. We exist to support dedicated providers. We're concerned about the preservation of rights of clients. We also advocate for scientific integrity. We have embedded Judeo-Christian values or understandings about marriage, the family, and the human body. But that doesn't make us a religious organization. It simply makes us attentive to those basic fundamentals that are extremely important. We're also concerned about professional standards and the promotion of sexual health. So when we organized the IFTCC in Britain in 2017, what was that about? Well, that was on the mandate from our German, Norwegian, and who else? Crystal, there were many other nations who encouraged us to register it there, not to make it a British organization, but to make sure over time the IFTCC is truly international with representatives from countries and from continents across the world. That's what we're trying to do. And it's about the promotion of rights and freedoms, the dissemination of accurate scientific science and research. Word missing there, apology. It's also an educative forum. It's about continuing professional development. It's about accountability. And it's also about cross and intercultural competencies. We have to be able to speak across boundaries and to be understood by people who are different to ourselves. What's the preferred provider program? Well, it's a course that covers clinical, medical, and research topics that are pertinent to the practice of sexual attraction, fluidity, exploration in therapy or safety. What's that all about? Well, remember terms like the American Psychological Association used to use this term. What was it called? Anybody remember? SOCI, sexual orientation, change efforts. Not our term. Conversion therapy, not our term. These are imposed terms, and it's like fighting through the treacle every time. They tell us what we shouldn't do, and then they tell us that we do it, and we say we don't do it. And so the cycle goes on and on and on. So our term is around the fact that we explore sexual attraction fluidity. We recognize that there is fluidity in sexual attraction. We don't believe in fluidity across the genders. We don't think genders are fluid, but we do believe that sexuality is fluid. So what are our objectives in this program? Well, we want to teach mainstream psychotherapy. We don't have some quick fix magic solution for people with this problem. We're not promoting one type of therapeutic approach. We promote mainstream psychotherapy. We're concerned with ethical developments, dilemmas that people face in all of that. We're concerned with cultural value conflicts. We're interested in the scientific literature, and we're interested in defining the variables that impacts the findings of research that we think is important to us. Who's it open to? Firstly, to professionally qualified persons. What does the program not provide? It does not provide a qualification. We do not see ourselves as providing qualifications here. Well, that's the end of the story, folks. So, would you consider it? See if this is something for you. If you'd like to fill in the document and leave it with us, there is no commitment to anything. It is simply a record that reflects on the fact that you have taken seriously your time being here. If you don't submit it, we don't take it that you weren't serious about it. We just simply want to provide that opportunity for anybody who would like to engage with it. So that's what that's about. So thank you, folks, for that. In closing, I would like to make this suggestion. The world is changing, and I wonder if you would agree with me that it has changed in the last 12 months since we have been here. We're in a different world now. And in the light of that, this conference is committed to being practical in what it offers. And for that reason, you are invited tomorrow morning, or tonight actually, to sign up for the workshops that have been advertised. And in a few minutes, I'm going to invite those presenters to the front. We're going to interview them and hear a little bit from them, and that will hopefully help you to make up your mind further about who you would like to visit in the workshops. So in a few minutes, I'll call them forward, but as we prepare for that, perhaps you'd just like to look at this video. Matthew, thanks for being in London. What's your take on nations wanting to ban therapeutic choice?
Yes, it seems to be a common trend these days. I think the way it is being done is very subtle. We are using a term called conversion therapy, which is very misleading, misunderstood. I think people think of potentially even electric shocks and really harmful practices.
Things that the church never did.
Exactly, precisely. And I think the church is still growing to this day in terms of understanding sexual orientation and just coming out of homosexual practices and how to minister to such people. But I think people should have the freedom to choose whichever help they deem is right and fitting for them. And I think any governmental intrusion is completely out of order. And so I think we should support professionals as well, pastors who are actively helping and giving real and practical solutions for people with unwanted same-sex desires. I think we should be fighting in this time for religious freedom. And it is being threatened in Europe, it is being threatened in America, in different continents in the world. And this is a time for us to unite, to come together and to say, we are Christians and we want to protect our faith and be active about it.
Tell us how the laws in Malta have impacted on you. So in 2016, Malta banned so-called gay conversion therapy or therapeutic choice, basically. Now, you were a man who didn't particularly look for therapy. Has the law, nevertheless, impacted on you?
Yes, I think it's a combination of things. I think the law, the lawmakers and the media are working together to stigmatize ex-gay people and make them look like terrorists, actually, pretty much, and people who are trying to cause confusion and harm and all of this stuff. The truth is that we were definitely labeled in Malta as being homophobic. We were publicly accused and really put to shame in a very malicious way. And I think this is what we should be talking about. Who is discriminating? And where is the equality? Where is equality in terms of, being free to speak, being free to share one's story? I think it's very alarming.
What would you say then to lawmakers in Germany and in Spain who are contemplating going in the same direction as Malta has gone?
Yeah, I think the aftershocks of such an earthquake is real, and there are terrible consequences. And the thing is that it just keeps escalating, and they are trying to come up with new initiatives, new ways to infiltrate, and I think we are exalting a minority over other minorities in an alarming way. And so I think that we need to see the bigger picture, the fuller picture. We cannot be short-sighted. This is not a time to just be superficial about it and say it's about equality. It's about it's a larger, it's a broader agenda, and I think we need to read between the lines and not be gullible anymore. We need to open our eyes and see it for what it is.
And finally, Matthew, what would you say to anybody out there today who is in a similar position to where you may have been, looking for truth and wanting to go forward in a different way and, in fact, leave the homosexual life?
Right. In my case, I did that to honor God in my life. But for others, it might simply be just not being happy about, same-sex attractions, not being able to sustain a family with a person of the opposite sex, and that brings them unhappiness in their lives. So it's broader than just the Christian faith. But for me, I've gone through seasons in my Christian walk of transformation, and it has been like the sun that gets brighter and brighter during the day. That has been my journey walking with Christ, and I can say that I've gone from being happy to be single for all my life to now actually looking forward to finding the woman of my life. And there's just an openness that has been created that is amazing, and that is making me feel as a powerful man, the powerful man that I have been called to be. And I feel like more than ever I have found my purpose and my destiny in my Christian faith, and I am grateful that I can celebrate my story and share it with the rest of the world. It really brings hope to thousands of people who have unwanted same-sex desires and want to move away.
Matthew Gregg, thank you so much for being here today. And I'm Mike Davidson from Voices of the Silenced outside the German Embassy in London. Thanks for being with us today. I'm going to ask those who are presenting workshops to come forward, if they would be so brave, and to join me at the front. I'd very much like to interview them and to hear a little bit about what they're going to do. Now's your opportunity to size them up and see whether they are as good as what they look on paper, and make your choices. So we're very thankful. Would you give them a round of applause? These people do not receive great honorariums. They are here out of the goodness out of their hearts and because they believe in what they're doing. Laura, I'm going to start with you. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us how it is to be in California at the moment. I'm going to hold the mic.
Oh, okay. Well, California in the United States, of course, is the birthplace of the therapy bans. That's where crazy bills are born, sent across the United States and around the world. The first one was born in 2012. We have 7 years experience now. We've learned a lot. We started at virtually ground zero. We're so much farther ahead now. I want to share with you everything we've learned, and we are winning.
So just say, would you say that again? We are winning.
We are winning.
So they have to come and find out how come we're winning. Robert, you're also from that part of the world. Tell us what you're going to offer, and in a nutshell, tell us what your session is about.
Yes, David Pickup and I tomorrow will do the first session on image transformation therapy. We're very excited. It's a new therapy that helps therapists and counselors resolve trauma in a very quick amount of time. It's much faster than other therapies. So we're really excited to present it tomorrow, and we hope you'll attend.
David, what's your role? You must have a unique role. What are you doing in that session with Robert?
Well, right now I feel like I'm in a beauty contest. Because you're supposed to choose who the best one is.
Losing.
My role is to demonstrate to you the specific processes that you're actually going to see happen that usually happen within the therapy office. Robert's half will deal more with trauma, and my half will deal much more with actual same-sex attractions and how those feelings actually with this new therapy, even though many therapies were good before, can now just be increasing in their thoroughness and in their speed, and I'm excited to demonstrate that to you. I know Robert is as well.
And so you'll see I'm working with those nations who have probably come the furthest, so I'm just going to continue with that. Tim, give a round of applause for Tim.
Hello. You just want me to describe my work?
I want you to tell us why you've come back. We've introduced you with a clap because you've come back. That must mean you were quite happy and you've been willing to return. Tell us what you're going to do and what the essence of that session is.
Absolutely. So last year I presented one prong of reintegrative therapy, which was the reintegrative protocol. I'm going to be presenting another prong of that, which is the dynamic assertion protocol. The dynamic assertion protocol is directed at helping men deal with intimidating relationships and develop positive affect tolerance. And this is particularly helpful for men who are at the point where they are considering entering into relationships with women, and in them being able to explore their heterosexual potential.
Thank you so much. Denise, it's such an honor to have you and a blessing. Thank you for coming. Tell us what you're going to do and what the heart of your session is about tomorrow.
Thank you. I will be talking about the effect of family members that have a loved one that identifies as being transgender, the emotional and psychological effects that trickle down through the family. It's almost like you throw a pebble out to the river and the ripple effects just go on, and that's just the way the situations are that families face.
Tell us, Denise, why it is that you're involved with this work in a few sentences.
When I was 9 years old, my father had told me that he desired to be a woman. And so through my journey of walking through a very difficult path with my dad, wondered for years as a child, why is there not a ministry? Why does not our priest, why do not pastors understand? Why is there not counselors to help people like my father or to come alongside of our family?
Thank you so much for being here, Denise. Keith, share with us what you'll be offering tomorrow. Thank you so much for all the time that you give to us and for what you do in the US. We really appreciate it.
Well, first I want to give some good news coming from my own home state of Florida, where a judge just recently struck down a city ban against counseling because he said cities don't have the legal authority to ban or regulate professions. So this judgment will likely destroy all of the bans in Florida. So that's positive news. I'm here to talk about things not to do in therapy. So if you're working with a gay client, I'm going to go through a whole list of things to avoid so that you don't cause any harm. We want to counter this argument that somehow counselors are causing harm to people, and there are some things that you should not do. So come to my lecture if you want to find out what not to do.
Thank you so much, Keith. I'm going to go now to Europe. Tell us who you are and what you're doing.
I'm Espen Ottosen. I'm from Norway. I will have a workshop tomorrow about the right culture of secularism, where I will try to show that a big problem for especially Christians saying that you should wait for sexual intimacy to marriage, you should abstain from sexual activities outside marriage, you should abstain from homosexual practice. It's more and more difficult to say this because we live in a right culture where a lot of people say you have the right to be sexual active.
Great. Excellent. We look forward to hearing good reports about that. Jens Fredrik, we're so glad you could come. You have a very busy media schedule in Norway, and I see you are spending a great deal of time in front of the media and arguing your case. So thank you so much for being here. Just remind us who you are and what you're going to offer tomorrow.
I am Jens Fredrik Brenne from Norway, and I'm working as a priest and have a master degree in theology and counseling. And now I will have a workshop where we focus on how relational trauma may have a significant impact on the development of personal and sexual identity. And I hope we will bring hope for men and women struggling with hurt sexuality. And I have with me Karen.
You brought Karen. Thank you, Karen. It's so good to see you again and to renew friendship with you. This lady has a story. And if you have a moment to corner her and hear that story or attend their workshop, I would highly recommend it. Karen, give us a word of greeting and tell us what you are going to offer tomorrow.
I will. English is a little bit difficult, but I will try to share my experience of going into homosexuality and coming out from homosexuality.
Thank you so much for being willing to do that. We really do appreciate it. Alexis.
I want to go to that workshop.
Well, you have a problem, I would say.
I do.
And I'm sorry, you've committed now. All right.
I'll do it. I was here last year. It was great. This year, I felt I needed some more power, some more juice to my talk on ways out of pornography. So I brought my wife. And I'm going to do a talk on ways out of pornography, and we're going to take a look into it. What is it? How does it change us? And the more I work on this topic, the more I need to learn about intimacy and love, because that is the way out of pornography. So it'll be juicy tomorrow. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
It's wonderful, and welcome to Mrs. Lund, wherever you are. You're very, very welcome. I'm not going to ask you to come forward, but you're so welcome. Simon.
Yeah. So my workshop, or it will be a session, will not take place during the other workshops. You can find it on the page 12 of this document that Mike was describing. So it is during the national meetings. Whoever of you would like to spend this time reflecting on education is invited, because this is my field, prevention of youth problems and education. 2 years ago, I had a workshop here on the conference, and we presented a book showing our strategy, the guidebook to effective prevention of youth problems. We applied this strategy in research and in working with youth, also regarding topics of sexuality, waiting with sex, and other controversial topics. But we have done something new, because we believe that young people should have answers to this confusion that they experience when they are young teenagers, 12, 13 years old. We have planned and we have fulfilled the plan to create a program for young teenagers concerning homosexuality also, between other topics. And in order to prepare this program, we ran a research on 3,500 young people, and I will present some result of this research. We ordered expert reports, psychological and law expert report. And we created a program which is dynamic, which is lively, and which has a small session in the middle about homosexuality. It's very passive. 12, 13 years old just listen to it. But they are silent, extremely silent. So I'm going to show it to you together with my wife who helped me. Can you show yourself? Stand up. And Agnieszka, yes. And to make the workshop a little bit less scientific, we will sing a song, a shanty, that we sing together with youth, and which I created the song in Polish, but now it's translated for this conference. We will sing it together in English.
Thank you so much, Simon. So folks, the forms are outside the doors. Before you go to bed, you might want to get your name on it. I think we are limiting them to 20 persons. Crystal, did you want to say something about that? Sure.
Please sign up for the workshop, for the national meeting groups, and for Jumon's workshop, if at all possible, before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, because then we have time in the morning to look for how many people go to which workshop so that we can allocate the correct rooms. So please sign up now. You have the fresh memory. Please sign up soon.
Okay, folks, I think it's time for bed or a nightcap or whatever it is that you would like to do, but I just want to close on this one note. Well, actually, there's two things I need to do. Number one, I need to tell you that if you're interested in psychodrama, if you're interested in working through psychodramatic technique to help people access their pain and to find the way out, then come to my session. If you would, I would love to have you. And I would also like to mention a leaders session that will take place also. And you need to look for what she is offering and sign up for that one as well. But I want to end on this note. I'm coming back to you. What was that you said?
We are winning.
Good night, folks. Thank you for coming.